Hello and welcome to the Manticore Media Podcast, episode number 7. My name is Michael Navarro. Joined today with a buddy of mine, Tuan Gutierrez.
You can call me Anthony Gutierrez. It's fine.
Anthony Gutierrez, that's what we'll call him.
What's going on, man?
How's it going, man? I'm glad you're here.
Man, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Known this guy for, I don't even know now. For those of you who joined us in the very first episode, my buddy JC was my first guest. That's how I met this guy. Well, y'all met in college?
We met in college, so I was 2000. So we've known each other about 13, 14 years. Man, it doesn't seem like that long.
Seem like that long, no? And you know, the funny thing is, usually at the end of the podcast, we do like pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only picture we've ever been in together is the Halloween at my house.
Halloween at your house. Y'all talked about that last episode.
And maybe JC's wedding?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that was before people had
the phones, everything. Yeah. I think I had a Motorola Razr back then.
With the slide out keyboard.
Yeah, or a BlackBerry with a trackball.
I think I had the Sprint flip phone.
There you go.
That old school with the retractable antenna. All right, so we're here today to talk about TGIF. Why TGIF? Because TGIF just came back on October 5th. So we're here to celebrate that.
Really?
Before we get into that, though, you were telling me you're watching some new TV shows.
I am. Me and my wife, we're watching the new one, The Neighborhood, with Cedric the Entertainer, the guy from New Girl.
Max Greenfield.
Yeah.
What was his name on that on New Girl? I forgot. It was
Schmidt,
something like
that. Yeah. No, it's funny, man. It's a really good show. Highly recommend it. And it also has the girl, one of the girls from Two Broke Girls, the blonde girl.
Yeah, I know her name. It's Beth Bears.
Yeah.
She was in one of those direct to DVD American Pie movies.
Okay.
That's how I first saw her.
Saw 3 of those movies.
You did?
Yeah, the American Pie movies.
Oh, well,
I didn't watch the directed.
They weren't that great. It's funny though because I hated Two Broke Girls. I never watched it. I watched like part of 1 or 2, and it was so annoying.
It was all right.
But it's funny. Right. Have you noticed in the promos they don't even mention her?
Mm-mm.
Like, how long did that show run? At least like 4 or 5 seasons, right?
Yeah, and it was pretty popular, I thought.
Yeah, and why not even mention her? They hide her.
I feel like because Cedric the Entertainer's is on there. He's kind of the bigger name, maybe.
I guess.
I don't know, but no, it's a good one. We're also watching another one. What is it? Happy Together with Damon Wayans' son, Damon Wayans Jr. Yeah. And old girl Amber Stevens. You probably know her face, but probably can't mention one other thing she's been in.
No. I do know. She was The Cartwrights. That was that show she was in.
Okay.
It was called The Cartwrights.
Okay.
Never saw it, but I knew. Wasn't David Alan Grier in that one too?
Yeah.
And man, she's been on with like 2 guys connected to the Living Color.
Yep.
And she was on a show called Greek on ABC Family. Me and my wife used to watch back in the day. It followed like a sorority and a fraternity. It was pretty funny. It was pretty good.
Okay.
About 10 years ago.
But no, man, both are good. I really like them. They're 30-minute shows. They keep my attention. Still watching that show, Superstore. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
No.
It is probably the funniest show, to me at least, on TV right now. Kind of follows a Kmart style store. And it just, if you've ever worked retail, like there are some hidden gems in there. You're like, oh yeah, we definitely did that work in retail. But no, it's a funny show. I highly recommend it to anybody.
Is it kind of like Chuck, the way that Chuck was with the spy aspect, but the story
I never watched Chuck. But it's one of those shows. It does have a storyline, like a deeper storyline that travels from episode to episode. Mm-hmm. But really, if you caught it mid-season, you could pick back up and see what the main storyline is, but every episode is kind of different, kind of has its own story into it, so it kind of begins and ends in that episode, but then you may see something that that was from last episode, or it kind of travels from episode to episode. But no, it's a funny show, probably my favorite show on TV right now, besides the superhero shows, of course.
Okay. Yeah. That's America Ferrera, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, never watched it. I'm watching The Rookie. It's on ABC. It's a cop show. It's about 3 new recruits in the LA police. It's Nathan Fillion from Castle and Serenity.
Okay.
Firefly.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Is that the one that has the Pink Power Ranger in it?
No, that was Flashpoint. That was a Canadian show.
Okay.
That's been over for like 5 or 6 years. That was another freaking good show.
I saw a couple episodes. I know DVR did a couple times, but yeah, I just remember, hey, it's a Pink Power Ranger in it. So.
Oh, it was no. You should watch it. It was cool. They were like on a SWAT team in Canada.
Yeah.
So the laws were a little different, a little bit weirder, but it was.
I don't know what that's all about.
What else am I watching that's kind of new? I'm still watching Blind Spot. I'm watching those same superhero shows you are. They're all right. They're kind of.
No, they're good, man.
Not that Arrow. That Arrow's getting on my nerves.
No, it's good. It's good. I like it. They're supposed to be introducing Batwoman this season in the crossovers.
Yeah, I heard. I just don't know if I care anymore.
Man, whatever. I care.
I like Flash. I like what they're doing now. It kind of dragged on a little bit last season and a half, but yeah. I like what they're doing now. I like Legends because you don't really gotta keep up with nothing. You don't have to think. You just watch what happens and it's done.
He's probably. I like all the shows. Probably Flash is my favorite out of them, but my favorite character in any of them has to be Heatwave.
The dude from Prison Break.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite character.
He's
just
funny.
He's so blunt. I like that.
I like the dude that turns a metal. I like him. He's pretty funny.
Oh yeah. He was on another show. He's one of those actors. You know his face, but you may not can name what he's been on.
Yeah. What's his? I don't know his name. And of course, the White Canary. I like her. The one that was on the Arrow.
Yeah. She died and came. Yeah, spoiler alert.
Died and came back. And died and came back.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's just jump right into TGIF. So, TGIF just came back, like I said, on October 5th with pre-existing shows, fresh off the boat, Speechless and Child Support, which is a game show. Yeah, you seen it?
I love that show.
Oh, it's great. It's hosted by Fred Savage from The Wonder Years.
Yeah,
and what would you say? I guess Ricky Gervais, he interviews kids. So the premise of the show is a contestant has to answer questions to reach a dollar amount, almost Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style.
Yeah.
However, if they miss it, Ricky Gervais asks the kids the same question. If any of the kids, there's like, 5 to 6 kids at the table. Yeah. If any of them get it right, the contestant is saved. It brings down their maximum dollar amount they can earn, but they're still in it. And it's funny. It's cross between Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and kids say the darndest things.
That show is hilarious to me. I mean, just the kids. I mean, there's one kid on there. Obviously they have the same group of kids, kind of episode to episode, and sometimes they interchange. But there's one kid that is just like a genius.
Is it that redhead kid with the glasses?
He's one of them. But there's another kid who looks like he's always dressed up. I swear the guy has. Yeah. He reminds me like he probably wears an ascot or something. But he's like a genius, man. Like, and he's always answering. I'm like, I hardly knew the answer to that. But no, it's funny, man. I really like Ricky Gervais, and I like his comedy. I was wondering when I saw the previews for that show how. Because his comedy is a little out there. Yeah. How he was going to be with kids, but no, dude, it's a good show.
What's he famous for? The British Office?
Well, The Office.
The Office, okay.
The original Office.
The original, yeah. You watched it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I just know they get offended if you call it the British Office.
Oh. All right, so TGIF started back in the late 80s. Almost said 90s. I'm like, oh no. Longer than that, the late 80s. It was one of the first attempts by a major network to brand a program, a block of their programs. It was on Friday night. The TGIF, from the term "Thank God It's Friday," they rebranded it to be "Thank God It's Funny."
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was a 2-hour block, 4 sitcoms. Kind of had a slow start to it before it was actually branded. On Friday nights, they would play a bunch of different comedies. They had Webster, which was an ABC show. They got different strokes from NBC for like the final season, and that was a Friday night sitcom. They also got one of my favorite shows that was never actually on TGIF, but was in this little slow start to it, called Mr. Belvedere. I don't know if you remember that. No. Mr. Belvedere was a great show. It was about this butler, a British butler, who came to live with this American family. The head of the house, the father was Bob Euchre.
Okay. I remember the show. I remember the characters. I never watched it.
Okay.
Like they always talk about older shows, and I remember bits and pieces from like clips and stuff, but I never watched the show.
Well, him and his wife had 3 kids. The youngest one was named Wesley, and he was always kind of going at it with Mr. Belvedere, pulling pranks. And you might remember Mr. Belvedere would always say, Wesley.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that. Okay. So at the beginning of this, there was also the show Perfect Strangers. And that was at the time like one of the most popular shows. So before it was actually branded TGIF, you had the 2 main guys from Perfect Strangers, Mark Lynn Baker and Bronson Pinchot. You might remember from Beverly Hills Cop.
Okay.
Who they did these interstitials, these little segments between the commercials for all the shows, and they would do it throughout the whole Friday night. Well, when they officially branded TGIF, they kept those interstitials, and they would have those 2 guys talk all night. Okay, Perfect Strangers is coming on, and after that, we've got this show and that show. So the very first official branding of TGIF ran from September 22nd, 1989 to September... my bad. To the following 1990 end of the television season.
Okay.
And the first lineup was was Perfect Strangers, which, like I said, was Mark Lynn Baker. He played Larry Appleton, and Bronson Pinchot, who played Balky Bartokomous, who is Larry's distant cousin from a country in the Mediterranean Europe called Mypos.
Okay.
In the first episode, Balky just shows up at his front door, says, hi, he says, Cousin Larry. He always called him Cousin Larry. I'm your cousin Balky. And he wanted to come live with him.
Okay.
Larry didn't really want him there, but he reluctantly agreed, and it all worked out in the end. It was a good, nice show. Balky was this kind of naive guy, needed to learn our culture, so Larry was going to teach it to him. And they met a few ladies who lived in their building who were flight attendants that they eventually both dated. They both ended up marrying. They all ended up living together.
Okay.
Throughout the whole show, they lived together. It was kind of weird, but it was good because they always found themselves in trouble, usually Larry's fault, and the naive Balky was always the one who ended up bailing them out. The cool thing about this show was that this is where the Winslows from Family Matters debuted.
See, I never knew that. I thought it was just a separate show.
Oh no, it was the same. They came from that show. It was a spinoff, and everybody thinks that Carl Winslow was the main guy in Perfect Strangers when he did appear, but it was actually his wife Harriet who had the larger role in Perfect Strangers.
No, Carl Winslow was the main guy from Die Hard,
which is not a Christmas movie, by the way. So Harriet was the elevator operator at the Chicago Chronicle, where eventually Larry and Balky both worked, and she was there for like 2 seasons until they spun off Perfect Strangers. So that show really, really set up TGIF to get its start because it was popular. Like right. It's not going to be anywhere near as popular as some of these other shows that debuted on TGIF, but man, at the time it was. Oh yeah, yes, it was the thing because Balky his catchphrase, which is you're going to see that a lot of these shows have catchphrases.
Of course.
So Balky's was "Don't be ridiculous," and you don't remember that?
No.
How old were you at that time? It was 89.
I mean, you really want me to tell you?
Yeah.
I was like 89. What, September of 89?
Yeah.
I was like 3.
Oh, man. Okay.
4, maybe. So, like, when you say TGIF started late 80s, TGIF, like, started for me, like, early 90s.
Oh, wow. So, I bet you most of these shows you won't even remember.
Not true. Not true. No? I remember a lot of them.
You do?
Now,
okay.
Some of them are just not as good episodes when they first started off.
No.
Like this next one on your list, Full House.
Yeah.
Like that one. To me, even I'll still watch some of the older shows. We actually bought the box set of them when they came out. Came in a little house and everything
you got
like
the
that.
Full,
the full set of the original ones. And I cannot watch like season 1 and 2. Like
no,
they just don't do it for me. But the rest of them, like I really do like. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, what's funny is so the next show was Full House that debuted the first season of TGIF, It ran for 8 seasons from September 22nd to 1987 to May 23rd, 1995. It was starring Bob Saget, as he was a comedian, a very dirty comedian, which a lot of us didn't know until after the run was over how dirty of a comedian he was.
Because there was no way to know. Like, there was no internet unless you were out there going to his shows. You just didn't have any idea.
Yeah.
I mean, because then you saw him on that, and then of course, my time you saw him like later. You saw him on Funny's Home Videos. Like, both those shows are clean,
very clean,
family friendly shows. So I remember the first time I found out about Bob Saget was in a movie he did, Half Baked.
That's right.
And I was like, wait a minute, that's the guy from Full House. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I had no idea.
Oh, I remember that line he dropped. Yeah, we were not going to say it's a family-friendly show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was Danny Tanner. He was a widowed father who needed help from his best friend and his deceased wife's brother to help raise his 3 daughters.
Yeah.
The brother-in-law was Jesse Katsopoulos, played by John Stamos, or played by John Stamos' hair, with help from John Stamos.
Dude, that hair. I was always jealous of it, man.
He had good hair, still has good hair.
Yeah, he does.
Originally in the first season, his last name was Cochran.
That I knew.
You knew that?
Yeah.
Because you watched that box set, right? Yeah, I remember. That's where I figured it out.
And then, of course, you get into rabbit holes on the internet and you just see these conspiracy theories or whatever, or just facts. And you're like, was it? And then you go back and watch it and it's like, oh, it was. It was.
So in the early series, Jesse was kind of a wild guy. He was a musician. He had his own band, Jesse and the Rippers.
Yep.
He was obsessed with Elvis.
He was
dressed up with
throughout the whole series. He was.
Oh yes, for sure.
Now, question on the Cochran thing: why did they change it? Do you know?
Well, what I read, although I've never actually heard John Stamos say it, is that he is of Greek heritage and he wanted his last name to actually reflect his actual heritage.
Yeah. That's what I read too.
Which, I mean, at the time he was a nobody. Why would they give into that? But
he turned into somebody. Though.
He did, yeah. So the best friend that was helping Danny raise his daughters was Joey Gladstone, played by Dave Coulier. Mm-hmm. He and Jesse eventually partnered up like in an advertising firm, and remember they would write the jingles for the different commercials. And he had that children's show he hosted where he played Ranger Joe. And he had the little gopher.
What was his name? The gopher's name?
Mr.
Woodchuck.
Mr. Woodchuck. Yeah, that's right.
Because he would always make wood puns.
He would, because he said, what did he say? Like, is that made of what? Yeah. I still remember the jingle to Ranger Joe.
Ranger Joe. He's the funniest guy you know.
Yeah.
Ranger Joe. Yeah. Yeah.
The oldest daughter was DJ Tanner, played by Candace Cameron Bure, who is the sister of Kirk Cameron, who was really famous at the time for his role in the ABC show Growing Pains. There's a dog in here. The middle daughter was played by Jodie Sweetin. Her name was Stephanie.
Yeah.
She was kind of neurotic, right?
She was kind of a brat.
She was a brat. Well, she was a middle child. She was always kind of jealous of DJ. DJ was kind of bossy, though, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, DJ was always kind of bossy. Stephanie, she was she was middle child, like kind of that stereotypical middle child.
Classic middle child syndrome.
Yeah. I both got on my nerves early in the season. Like, that's why I couldn't watch it, because of their just dynamic with each other just drove me crazy watching it. Like, as I got being older now. Now, back then when I used to watch it, it didn't bother me. But like as an adult, no.
Okay, so Stephanie's catchphrase, did you like it? How rude?
How rude? No.
I think she said it too long. That was a problem. She got too old to keep saying it.
Too many times.
Yeah. And I think she even said it in the Fuller House reboot. She said it a couple times.
Yeah. Well, they did that for just nostalgia purposes. I think, is having her say that, but
like only once or twice. I think it was a good callback. It wasn't annoying.
Wasn't overly done like they did in the original run through of the show. Yeah.
So the youngest daughter was Michelle Tanner, played by the twins Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, who probably had the I don't know if you say the best career afterwards, but they certainly made the most money of anybody else
I wouldn't
on the
say
show.
the best career.
The biggest empire, for
there
sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
They made the most money out of anybody in that show.
Yeah, didn't they have, like, they had direct to VHS movies?
Yeah.
They have a makeup line when they were, like, tweens or teenagers?
They did. They had a makeup line. They also had, like, I feel like hair care products. Like, I think I want to say I feel like one of my cousins had like a blow dryer or
really
a flat iron or something made by them. And then of course they had their clothes and their little purses and accessories and stuff. Yeah. They made stupid money, man.
I think they might still have their own fashion lines.
Oh yeah, because they're big on fashion now. You always see pictures of them at New York Fashion Week and stuff like that. Yeah.
You know what always bothered me? I hated the way there were dudes who were like, "Oh, we can't wait till they turn 18." That always creeped me out, man, because that's like America's little sister. Yeah. They were, they start out as literally babies.
Yeah.
Like literally in the first 3 episodes, there's a whole.
They didn't talk.
Well, not only that, there was a whole gag where Joey and Jesse didn't know how to change a diaper, and so they had put her in the sink and were hosing her down with the water hose. And
yeah, I never said that.
No, me neither.
Never said that.
Creepy. Bob Saget, his character Danny, was a news sportscaster on the local news who eventually was hired on to be an anchor of Wake Up San Francisco.
Yeah.
And his first partner, which I think was his partner through the whole time, right, was Rebecca Donaldson, played by Lori Loughlin.
She was his partner for the most part, and then I know that the one he eventually got engaged to came in and was his partner for a while because that's how they met.
That must have been when she went on maternity leave when she had the twins.
The twins.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
What were the twins' names?
Alex and Nikki?
Yeah.
So Rebecca, also known as Aunt Becky, eventually became Uncle Jesse's wife.
Yeah.
Hence Aunt Becky.
Aunt Becky. That's
I liked Aunt Becky. She was probably like the most level-headed of all the adults in the show.
She was.
She kept Jesse in line.
Yeah, she was the one that, like you said, kept everybody in line, but she was the one that you could relate to, and to me, really didn't get on my nerves because each one had a little quirk to them that would eventually get on my nerves.
Because Danny was always obsessed with cleaning and giving hugs.
OCD,
very OCD. Jelly was just a big goofball.
Yeah, he was never serious.
No.
And then Jesse, there was times he was kind of a sleazeball.
Yeah.
And then not responsible.
Well, the way they redeemed his characters, him and Michelle had a special bond. He always called her his little munchkin or something else he called her. I forgot. Now,
do you remember Michelle Tanner's catchphrase, since we're talking about catchphrases and how rude?
Yeah, okay. Didn't she have 2? Because she had, you got it, dude.
Yeah, that's the one I remember.
Wasn't there another one?
Not that I don't remember the you got it, dude.
You got it, dude.
But the good thing, the difference with her is she stopped. When she got older, she didn't say that.
Yeah, but you know what she did as she got older? She still had used that baby voice.
Yeah.
Way too long.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, but like I said, she stopped the catchphrase. Like, she did. She didn't do it when even when she was, I guess, made it into later elementary or junior high or whatever. Like, she'd stop saying it. But I swear Stephanie said hers.
Way too long.
Way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long.
When she hit that awkward teenage years.
Yeah. No.
So DJ had a best friend named Kimmy Gibbler, played by Andrea Barber. She was the most annoying person on the show, but I think it was almost in a love-to-hate kind of way. I don't remember being... Because it was more of a joke, and it was they were kind of mean to her, because I always joke on her, Kimmy, your feet smell, put your shoes back on.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the things they did to her or like said to her would not fly.
No.
In this day and age, like, just would not. There would be a riot or protest or something.
Stephanie was really rude to her.
Yep.
Jesse was kind of mean to her.
Her and Jesse had the worst relationship, I think.
What about Danny? Because didn't Danny always just tell DJ to get another friend?
Yeah, Danny would always take pop shots, but like Jesse was always like rude to her face.
Really? Did she have a thing for him? Is that maybe why?
I think so. Like in the show, they kind of played it up, kind of
in the earlier seasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, some of the stuff they said to her would not be okay in shows now. Like, so watching most of these shows, you're like, wouldn't get away with that now.
I know if you go on YouTube, you can find a clip where Stephanie like makes a real bad innuendo to Kimmy.
Okay.
Accusing her of being a little promiscuous.
No,
I
okay.
haven't watched it in a long time. We'll have to watch it on the break or something.
No, like man, what I really liked about just Full House in general is kind of it wasn't the heavy-handed after-school special type show. It was a good family show.
It was.
They traveled a lot. They had reoccurring characters that come in and stuff like that. Which what was DJ's boyfriend's name?
He was Steve.
Yeah, you know who Steve was, right?
He was in My Boyfriend's Back, right? That movie where he was the zombie.
Yeah, but you know who he was. Like to me, every time I think of Steve, he was the voice of Aladdin.
That's right, he was.
He was.
And you know,
yeah.
What's funny about that? I heard whenever Fuller House came back, he was doing the rounds because he makes an appearance in the new show, and he was saying that he is still getting money for doing that voice because they use the voice in the parks, the theme parks, and he's still getting paid for that.
Yeah. Like then that was one of my. It's funny going back and watching all the episodes. That's still probably my favorite. Like I guess it was one, maybe two episodes that they actually did in Disney World.
Oh yeah,
and like he would appear, and I think at one point DJ's seen him everywhere, and he sees him as Aladdin.
Oh, I don't remember that, but
yeah. Like she's looking. Oh, is that Steve? Is that Steve? And it's Aladdin. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of boyfriends and girlfriends, you mentioned Danny had the girlfriend Vicky Larson, played by Gail Edwards, who took over for Rebecca on Wake Up San Francisco while she was out having the kids.
Yeah.
They eventually got engaged.
At Disney World.
That was that same episode, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And I like them. Because, you always felt bad because Danny's wife died.
Yeah.
And they ended up breaking up because she got her dream job doing like the network news in New York.
Yeah. So she got an anchor job or something, like something she's always wanted, and it was one of those things that they played it up as Danny letting her go or whatever like that. So I mean, I feel like they wrote it pretty well.
Well, they tease us though, because I think originally she got a similar job, not at the network level, but a similar job with the local news in Chicago, and she turned it down for him.
Yeah.
She
took it and then she came back.
Something like that. Yeah, that's right. She came back.
Because she came back dressed as Santa Claus or something like that.
Oh,
in one of the Christmas episodes.
Really?
Like, the door, there's a knock on the door and Danny answers it. And then it's Santa Claus. I feel like Joey was dressed up as Santa Claus in the episode. And then there was another knock. And then Jesse was dressed up as Santa Claus. And then there was another knock. And then ended up being a Santa Claus. They were like, who is this? And then she kisses Danny dressed as Santa Claus, and Danny's like, and then she takes it off. And like I think it was when she went to Chicago and she came back for him or something like that. But yeah. So
that was one of the saddest parts of the show though, when they finally broke up for real. Like,
that was pretty emotional. Because then they even do it was like a newlywed game. Was it Joey that was hosting the newlywed game, or they did some? No, it was Jesse and Rebecca.
Mm-hmm. Steve and DJ, maybe?
Was it Steve and DJ? And then it was Vicky and Danny were on there. And then for some reason I don't think Vicky was there to start it, and it was Danny and this old lady.
Oh wow.
And they were getting all the answers right. And it was really awkward, and then she shows up at the end of the episode and professes her love and something like that. But yeah.
I missed that one. I missed a lot because even though we always recognized it as a TGIF show, it maybe less than half of its run was actually on TGIF. They moved to Tuesday nights at one point, and
I think they moved it just because it was so popular.
And maybe they had some reruns on the off season for TGIF. That might be another reason why we think it was there so much. But
because honestly, I thought Full House was kind of their mainstay that was on TGIF. But then you go back and you're looking, like you said, they moved it to Tuesdays and then they moved it to Wednesdays because they ended up competing against these other shows on other networks, and that was one of their heavy hitters. Really, once they stabilized TGIF as must-see programming, basically where they felt like they could put anything on there and people would watch, then they moved their heavy hitter to another night to go up against another show.
It was a strong show.
It was. I liked it. I still do.
Yeah, I like it. Even in all of its cheesiness, I still like it.
I like going back and watching it and just seeing like the actors that make an appearance here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it holds up for the most part. Very few except like the way they treated Kimmy and those.
Some of that.
But speaking of other people that appear later, so one of Michelle's best friends when she was a young kid was Teddy, played by Taj Mowry.
I was the brother for the sister.
He's a brother of Tia and Tamara Mowry, a younger brother.
Okay.
He also had that show on the
Smart
WB,
Guy.
The Smart Guy.
I love that show.
I never watched it.
It was when I want to say it came on later in my elementary, junior high years,
Wow.
and so it was one of those like after school shows.
Mhm.
So I liked it. It's funny. It also had what's his name? Omar
Gooding?
Yeah.
Cuba's good brother?
Yeah, he was in there too. He was like the brother's best friend.
Omar's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he's going to come up later in this.
Is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he will. Another friend was Denise Frazier, played by Journey Smollett. I don't know if you remember her. Yeah, let's see. The
other little girl.
She always had like her hair kind of maybe with beads in it or kind of braided.
Yeah.
So she came in season 6, where Teddy came in season 5, and because Teddy had moved away to Texas, and so Denise became Michelle's new best friend. But then Teddy came back, and they were fighting over who's going to be until they figured out we can all be best friends. The one that a lot of people forget was Aaron Bailey. He was played by Miko Hughes. If that name sounds familiar to you, it's because he was a little baby in Pet Sematary. Can mommy come out and play?
Is that the same boy that was in Kindergarten Cop?
Yes. Yeah, I know which line you're talking about.
A lot I'm talking about.
That was him. And he was kind of a bully. He was a little piece of you-know-what, man, to Michelle. He was always... I think he made her cry a few episodes.
At her party, too.
Why
would you even invite him to your party?
Michelle. Something like, you stink.
He just had that annoying voice.
He was mean, man.
Yeah.
A couple more appeared. Do you remember Gia? Gia Mahan?
Yeah, she's the one that got Stephanie in trouble, right?
She did. She started out being like a bully.
They
were smoking in the bathroom, remember?
Yeah, and then Stephanie got her in big trouble or something, and then come to find out Gia had hardships at home, and somehow they related on that.
Yeah, because Stephanie made her cry. Stephanie brought up maybe
something
her parents might have been it was something dumb, like a divorce or something like that. Yeah,
made her cry and made her look weak in front of everybody, and then realized how she really was having trouble at home. And then they became best friends.
Yeah,
and then they had a party at Gia's house, which was like a make-out party or something like that. And I forget. I guess DJ comes and to save the day,
breaks it up. That's typical DJ.
DJ hate
mess with people.
It also had old boy that was he DJ's friend, the boy that played from Little Rascals, the rich guy.
That was one of Michelle's friends.
Was it Michelle's friends?
It was. I forget his name. I know what he looks like. He was a little blonde dude. Real arrogant looking because he was really smart, and he was the Yankee who beat out Michelle for the Yankee Doodle Boy in the musical.
Yes.
And didn't Jesse pick him over Michelle? And that's why caused a big deal.
Yeah, because of the relationship.
Yeah. I just remember that. I'm a Yankee Doodle Boy. Oh, I couldn't stand that kid.
No, I didn't like him at all.
I don't remember his name, the actor's name.
But I just remember him from Little Rascals.
I remember Gia. That was Marla Sokoloff. She went on to do Boston Public, but she was in that movie, Whatever It Takes, with James Franco and Shane West, like early 2000s. It was a modern day adaptation of Cyrano de Bergerac, or the Roxanne movie with Steve Martin, where you had the one guy that was feeding lines to the other guy to get.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that movie, but I mean, yeah.
Oh, I love that movie. I'll let you borrow it.
Okay.
I'll let you borrow it. That's one of my favorite movies.
Or I
from
could
back
just
then.
look it up on Fire Stick, technology.
I don't support Fire Stick. You're robbing from people. Oh wait, you're not jailbroken, are you?
No.
Okay.
You do it legit.
Okay.
Man.
Okay. Good. You're legit good. Good. I didn't know, man. I know a lot of people who jailbreak their stuff.
No, I just know on my account, my wife just got Mamma Mia 2. I'm like, oh god.
Oh
no. Oh, obviously, I didn't watch that. Can't do it.
I didn't watch the first one either.
Yeah.
All right, so the next big show that happened to also come out that year was Family Matters.
Yes, that's my show.
But we're not going to talk about that yet.
What?
Because we forgot one.
What did we forget?
We forgot Just the 10 of Us.
Because I don't remember.
You don't remember Just the 10 of Us? Okay, Just the 10 of Us was a spinoff of Growing Pains.
Okay.
And it was their high school coach and gym teacher. And it was his, he had 6 daughters and a son.
Okay.
Him and his wife, and then I think they eventually had another baby, or maybe one of the babies was the sixth daughter. I don't remember. It was a pretty funny show. It didn't last very long. It had Heather Langenkamp as one of his daughters. She was Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street,
Okay.
the original.
Yeah.
And she was kind of like neurotic and goody-goody nerdy schoolgirl, because I believe they were in a Catholic high school. It was intergender. I don't think it was just boys and girls. They were included together, but she was really stuck up and not stuck up. She was like uptight.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Jamie Luner was another one of his daughters. She did what did she do? I really know her from this, but she did one of those WB shows when it first started. That was like, I think it was called Savannah.
WB, that's taken it back.
Yeah, it was like almost like a dynasty show.
Okay.
Back in the day. I don't remember much about the show. It didn't last very long, and it's kind of hard to find it. But I liked it. It was great. I remember the song.
I don't remember any of it.
Oh, the theme song was really good, but I can't remember it now.
It was that good.
It was good, and it's an earworm. I'll have to think about it. Maybe during the break, I'll figure it out.
Earworm like Baby Shark.
Oh,
say that. Yeah, say that again. Think about it all. Show.
So if you can find it, I'd say watch it.
I'll give it
maybe
a try.
maybe.
I found some of these other
one or
ones
two
on
seasons.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's funny,
Goodness.
and especially. Did you ever watch Growing Pains?
Yeah, I mean, my parents watched it, obviously, and so it was one of those. We would always watch TV while we ate dinner. Yeah, we were that family. I know not all families are, but we were that family. And we'd always turn like the big old box television into the dining room, and we would always. I remember Growing Pains and all kinds of other shows just growing up.
Yeah, so think about how big of a deal that show was for this guy to get his spinoff, his character to be that popular, to get his own spinoff. It was great.
It's funny that they did it that early. You don't think of many shows that were spinoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had the same characters, but you don't think of a spinoffs. But nowadays, you see programming on TV, and you're like, oh my god, another spinoff of this character.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they do it with my favorite shows, the Arrow shows and all that, but I like those shows, so I don't talk bad about them.
So the next big deal we briefly mentioned there was Family Matters. Ran from 9 seasons. Wow. 8 of them were on ABC, 1 of them on CBS.
Really?
Yes, because CBS in, I believe it was 1997, wanted to start their own competition for TGIF, and they called it the CBS Block Party. It was on Friday nights. So they stole away Family Matters and Step by Step.
Okay.
So those 2 shows both had their final season on CBS.
So I guess when I was just being that young watching the shows, to me, it was just on TV.
Yeah.
I thought it was all one station.
Because there's only 4 back then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, little dial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Family Matters, like we said, was a spinoff of Perfect Strangers. It was the Carl and Harriet Winslow. Carl was a cop.
Yeah, he was.
Harriet got fired from her job as the elevator operator on Perfect Strangers. Didn't happen on the show. Happened off the air between, But she got rehired as their head of security. And so they did that as a way to where you wouldn't wonder why she's not interacting with Larry and Balky anymore. Well, it's because she's not on their floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I'd never realized. Obviously, I didn't know that they were intertwined shows. Mm-hmm. And all I remember is it was strange to me that they would kind of cast them, but the storylines of one's a cop and the one's a security guard type deal.
Yeah.
Like that just, that always, I don't know why that bothered me. It didn't bother me, but I was like, because then every time Carl would talk to Harriet about police work, he would almost talk to her like she was stupid and didn't know what he was talking about.
Ah. That's weird. I think eventually she got out of security and did something else. I can't remember what it was. What's funny, in that very final season, she didn't even the same actress who was, what was her name? It was Jo Mary Payton.
It was a different one.
Yeah, halfway through the final season, they switched out with another woman, Judy Ann Elder, for the last 8 episodes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this was before the Aunt Viv switch or after. But they pulled an Aunt Viv, and they switched her out.
Yeah, I remember watching the later episodes and realizing, hey, wait a minute, like that's not the same mom.
And this one was even more distracting than Aunt Viv, because this woman, well, and neither Aunt Viv's looked alike at all, but this was just I guess because she
looked way younger.
That and the original actress, she had that distinct voice.
Yeah. It's almost kind of not really raspy, but kind
like
of
powerful.
Yeah.
With a little bit of rasp.
Yeah.
Almost like a Rod Stewart, the way.
Yeah. That's one way. A female Rod Stewart.
A female Rod Stewart.
Okay.
Definitely. She had a sister, Rachel, played by Thelma Hopkins, who I know she's been in a lot of stuff before Family Matters. I just don't know what it was. But I knew who she was. I knew her face. Didn't
they have her working like in a department store? Or something like that. She was like the perfume lady or something.
Maybe
because that's what I thought Harriet did, but I'm like, Harriet never did that.
I don't remember what Rachel did, but
because didn't she become a baker? She opened up her Rachel's Cafe, or she had a restaurant.
See, in a few seasons, she leaves Family Matters and has her own show on TGIF, which we'll cover in the later seasons.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Shows how great that was.
Because they left her son, Richie, on the show, even though she had left. Because when they started, her husband had died, and she had her baby. Didn't they call him Little Richie?
Little Richie, yeah.
Yeah. And so they moved in with the Winslows.
I think it's because he looked like Lionel Richie.
Or Little Richard?
No.
He looked more like Lionel Richie, yeah, because he had
the hair.
Yeah.
Because at one point he had the Jerry curl, and he looked just like him.
And didn't he dance like Michael Jackson on some episodes?
He dressed like him for one.
He dressed like him.
Yeah, for one Halloween episode, and he danced like them all the time. He had the gloves, shiny gloves, and everything, the jacket.
He could dance too. Yeah, I remember him doing the spins, and his little hair would flap. Cute little kid. Also moving in with them at the time was Carl's mother, Estelle Winslow.
Grandma Winslow.
They called her grandma. I want to say Harriet called her mother, or no, Carl called her mother.
Yeah. No, I always knew her as Grandma Winslow. She was funny.
Yes.
She was funny. She was probably my favorite character, even above Urkel.
Yeah.
Just because she was blunt, she was funny.
She was funny. She wouldn't take no sass either.
Nope.
Played by the actress Rosetta Lenore. Do you remember the episode? I think Carl lost his job, so they were trying to cut back. And since she had grown up in the Depression, she cooked them breakfast, but instead of giving them the bacon, she just put the bacon grease on the eggs and was saving the bacon for a meal later in the week. Yeah, I remember that.
Wow.
She's like, no, you're going to eat this grease first, then we get the bacon later.
And you did it too, because Grandma Winslow, she was no punk, man.
No, she wasn't.
She didn't care who you were. She didn't wear. You were Carl. You were what's the boy's name?
Eddie was the oldest son. Then you had Laura was the middle daughter, and Judy was the young Winslow sibling.
Judy. She was there for a bit.
Judy was there for a bit. Judy was like Richie Cunningham's brother on Happy Days, where in the middle of season 4, she goes upstairs and never comes back down. Just disappears.
I don't know. And you know what's funny about that show, and going back to Full House, is both houses had 2 sets of staircases. It had to be a thing for because the Family Matters had one in the kitchen, just like Full House, and then there was one in the living area. Yeah. And you never saw the upstairs Family Matters. You saw the bedroom. You saw Eddie and Laura's room.
Yeah.
But Full House, you saw the whole hallway. But
you did.
But both staircases led to the same hallway, which was always weird for me.
Huh.
Yeah. Blow your mind looking at that kind of stuff.
I never noticed that.
But I wonder if it was just for filming purposes, of if it was, hey, we need to give them 2 exits to get out of the shot, or have them come in so they're not coming in through that swinging door all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, each show had a staircase in the kitchen where a lot of the show took place, and a staircase in the living room where a lot of the show took place. So
interesting.
And if you think about it, a later show that we're going to talk about did the exact same thing.
Yeah. Maybe it's you were in drama, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe it's for the blocking of the show. That's what they did.
That's what I'm assuming. It's just giving characters an easier way to come in and out of the shots and stuff like that. So they're not always coming through that swinging door of the kitchen.
But Full House always had the back door in the kitchen. So did Family Matters, right?
Yep.
Okay. Because in the back door of Family Matters is where Steve Urkel always came in. Yeah. Steve Urkel was the most popular character of the show, played by Jaleel White. Nerdy guy. He had his aggravating voice and wore these thick rim red glasses and suspenders, and his blue jeans were pulled all the way up to his chest, and nobody liked him at all. He had a thing for Laura.
Oh yeah.
Carl couldn't stand him. Maybe Grandma liked him. Did she like him?
Grandma liked him, and Eddie was his friend. He would annoy him, but Eddie was still his friend. He always had his back.
because he really had a thing for Laura for the duration of the show. And
whole show.
Yeah, and really, as his character became more popular, the show started to focus more on him.
Yeah.
Which grating, annoying voice. Like, what was his catchphrase?
Did I do that?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
And he always called Carl Big Guy.
Big guy.
Big Guy.
Yeah.
So Urkel was so popular, they had the big, like, 12-inch talking dolls of Urkel and so many.
Well, I mean, if you can make money off of it, why not do it?
I think in the time, I probably liked him. Or he wasn't as annoying as he is now to me as an adult.
Yeah. Is it because you know some people like that?
No, I don't. I never knew anybody like that. And same thing with him as the series went on. Like, his voice changed, like the deepness of his voice. But like, it was almost like Michelle being a baby too long. His
stuck on too long.
Yeah, it didn't change enough.
I feel like that's why they tried to rebrand him as Urkel. In some of those episodes, so he wasn't. You didn't have to see if they could leave him off as much and see if the show was still as popular. But I don't know. Okay. I liked him.
So how did they do that? So I guess since he was pining for Laura, did he do some kind of science? Because he was very smart.
It was a science experiment where it almost looked like a porta potty, and he put some kind of liquid in it, and they would always lights would flash and everything. You'd see the green liquid go down. And then they'd ding like a microwave.
And he was inside of it?
And he was inside of it.
Okay.
And he would come out. And he would have just changed clothes and took off the glasses. And he had his regular voice.
Okay, he was Steve Urkel. He was like a cool, suave...
Stefan Urkel.
Yeah. A suave, cool version of him.
Yeah.
Okay. And at some point, didn't they like kind of split the two out?
Again, another science experiment gone wrong. Like, they split them too. And so, obviously, he was playing both characters. And they tried to make that work. And then somehow, I think it was Laura, liked Urkel.
She did.
But then she realized she liked Steve. Of course, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the show. Really liked Steve and just the genuine person he was.
And I want to say they ended up engaged at the end of the series.
Yeah.
Because she changed her mind and... Yeah, it was strange. It really did jump the shark with all those weird experiments towards the end.
They did. They also did a Disney World episode.
Of course they did.
And did you know that? And then what was it? Urkel showed up on Full House.
Urkel showed up. I think there's 2 times they did this during TGIF where a character from one show appeared on every show on that night. So he was in Full House. Because I remember Michelle saying something like, "Your voice is funny." Yeah. He showed up on Step by Step because he had shot himself off in like his rocket jetpack.
Okay.
And he shot himself off. I guess so. Family Matters was in Chicago. Step by Step was in Washington State, and he shot himself off and crashed.
Washington State?
I believe so. Yeah.
I thought it was in Wisconsin
it could have been Wisconsin.
Because weren't they big Green Bay Packer fans?
Maybe Wisconsin. That makes more sense to go from Chicago to Wisconsin, Chicago to Washington. But yeah, he like crashed into their roof or something, and we'll get into that during the Step by Step because he relates to another nerdy character. What else was around at that time that he would have crashed on?
I just really remember him from going into Full House because like you said, him and Michelle kind of had that "you talk funny" type deal. But no, I mean, again, it's one of those things. He was the biggest character in the show.
He was.
So you try to make money off it. They tried to do different types of his character. At one point, they made a robot.
I remember.
And he tried to be a cop, and he saved Carl. Or whatever, and then he turned into an evil robot, of course, because that's what robots do.
That's what they do.
They turn evil. So they had to play that up, because I want to say it was around the time Terminator 2, I feel like, was coming out, or maybe it was a little bit after, and they were still feeding off of that.
That makes sense.
But yeah, they did Urkel all kinds of ways.
Yeah, it was really jumping the shark. So him and Eddie had a friend named Waldo Faldo. You remember him?
Wasn't he Waldo Faldo Geraldo or something?
Waldo Geraldo Faldo?
It's something like that. Maybe. It was something like that because they played it up. His name, the actor's name is Sean Harrison. Because it's funny because they always mention his other relatives, and they all had weird names like that. Yeah.
Because I think he had like one relative named Taco or Burrito or Guacamole or something. Yeah, he had Waldo Faldo, Ronaldo, Geraldo Faldo.
Yeah, he had a catchphrase too.
I don't remember it. What was
it? Just okay, cool.
That's right. Cool. That's right. Because remember, he started out being a bully. Him and the other. Yeah, there was a main bully who was always getting into it with Eddie, and Waldo was that bully's best friend. He wasn't as bad of a bully, but he was in the little gang that used to harass Eddie.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I just remember him and Eddie always being together, like with everything. And then, of course, Steve kind of joined there because then even Waldo and Steve became like really good friends through that.
The three of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because their gang, they almost dress up like, almost wearing like Oakland Raiders, the big puffy jackets and all the stuff, black and white.
Okay.
Yeah. It was nuts at the time. I was like, oh man, this is serious stuff here. This is a real gang trying to get at Eddie. I don't remember how Waldo made the face turn, but he did.
Made the face turn.
The face turn.
I like the way you said it.
And there was one more really significant character was Myra Monkhouse, and she was Steve's girlfriend. She came in around season 4, and she was like the first girl that gave him attention. And they were together for a long time until Laura realized that she was into Steve, and that
her and Laura fought.
Well, yeah, but
she was kind of like evil towards Laura.
Well, towards the end, that was the kind of crappy thing about it is they made her go crazy. They made her start stalking Steve, and he ended up getting her arrested, and she went to jail.
I just remember Laura and Steve getting together. I don't remember what happened to her. I just remember like throughout the whole show, she would just, even when Urkel was with her, she would just look at Laura and just say something.
Oh yeah.
Man, you crazy.
Because she always knew that Steve had those requited feelings for Laura, yeah. And she was played by the actress Michelle Thomas, who sadly passed away like within a year or so after Family Matters wrapped. I know she went on and she was on Young and the Restless for a while, and she was on Young and the Restless when she actually died. She had to take a leave of absence from the show. And you told me you heard the same story about how and why she died, right? That I had heard?
From cancer?
Yeah, it was like a rare form of some cancer.
Rare form of some cancer, and that she wouldn't take treatment for it because she wasn't able to have kids, and with the treatment and stuff, she wouldn't be able to do the shows. And she just didn't want to, from my understanding, that she didn't want to live like with that pain of going through treatment and stuff like that.
And when the deal, the treatment would have sterilized her, and that's what the deal was, and she didn't want to do that. Yeah, it was sad. I remember hearing that story, but I wasn't positive.
It's funny that you hear all these stories about while shows are going on, but then you don't really learn about them until like the internet came around. Yeah,
because now we know the whole story, the whole
you know everything
deal. Yeah,
you know everything that happened back like behind the scenes of all these shows and stuff like that. You don't really pay attention. So Family Matters, Judy disappearing, but you don't really realize that she did disappear until you read stories about it online, like, oh, Judy wasn't around after season 4. Wait, she wasn't, was she? You don't think about it because they, like you said, they focus more on Urkel and then changing them to Urkel, and then Urkel's relationship with Carl, who was I don't think they always talked about Urkel's parents, how they were, I guess, kind of nerdy like he was.
Yeah.
But him and Carl had that like father-son relationship type deal. And I think they even played it up in one episode where Eddie got jealous of it.
I remember that.
The episode that sticks out besides like the Disney World episodes for me is there was one episode they were baking pies for something, and they had a bunch of pies all over the kitchen, and they just started hitting each other with pies.
Was it almost like the I Love Lucy episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the final one, Urkel hits Carl with a pie. And he said, and it's the same thing. He did it so many times. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then did I do that? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, it's just, man, they played it up, and then, yeah. And then I think even Grandma Winslow gets hit with a pie.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, they hit everybody with a pie in that episode.
And that was probably the icebreaker, right? That's what made everybody laugh when Grandma got hit. Yeah. And they all had fun after that.
Yeah.
So that rounded out the very first season of TGIF from 89 to 90. That's like, most of those shows are still part of our popular culture. Like the catchphrases are still there. We still remember them.
Well, we do.
Yeah.
You try to say them now to a kid that was born. They're like, what are you talking about? How rude. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But still, somebody might call somebody an Urkel or a Michelle or, So heading into the 1990-91 season, you still had Full House. You still had Family Matters. You still had Perfect Strangers. But we got 3 new shows. And the way the TV season worked for TGIF is, so you have the 90 to 91 television season, but they're broken down by fall, winter, and spring. So a lot of the times, some of those in the winter and spring, you might have shows replacing each other during that time slot, just for the duration of that. What's the word? Not TV season, but the calendar season.
Yeah.
So we had a new show called Baby Talk. It was loosely based on the Look Who's Talking movie. Tony Danza was the voice. It only lasted 2 seasons. I didn't really watch it.
I don't remember
You
it at
probably
all.
don't.
I mean, I remember that Look Who's Talking.
Mm-hmm.
That movie was absolutely terrifying. The second one had Rosie O'Donnell in it too as a girl
As the
voice.
little girl voice, yeah.
To see that movie, I know we're not talking about it, but that movie still has a scene that like scarred me as a child when he's learning to when he's being potty trained
Mm-hmm.
and he's scared of the toilet.
Yeah, I remember it flaps.
It looks like a demon. I'm like, no. It still gets me like, no.
So that didn't last very long. I remember the promos for it because they made it look a lot like Look Who's Talking. It didn't really resonate very well. But one new show that did resonate was Dinosaurs. This lasted for 4 seasons, and it followed an anthropomorphic dinosaur family. Each member of the family was a different kind of dinosaur. It was Earl and Fran Sinclair were the parents. The kids were Robbie, Charlene, who was voiced by Sally Struthers, if you know who that is.
I know who it is, but I didn't know that's who.
It was her voice. And the baby was called Baby. And he had his little catchphrase. He always called Earl, not the mama.
Not the mama.
Remember that?
That's right. Not daddy. Not the mama.
Not the mama.
I had a stuffed baby.
A baby?
Yeah. It was a pull string because that's how they did it back then. A pull string, and it said "not the mama."
Yeah.
It's got to be at my house somewhere, packed in boxes.
Oh, that's cool.
So I hope to find it one day. But
You know, they had McDonald's Happy Meal toys in them, and I feel like I have some of those at my grandma's house somewhere. I don't know if I had the whole set, but I think I had Earl and the baby.
And didn't they play up like Earl worked at some? It was almost like Flintstones-esque.
It was.
Type deal. It was like almost like a quarry or some kind of thing.
He knocked over trees.
Yeah, that's what it was. But they kind of played up his boss as like the evil guy, and he always reminded me of
George Jefferson.
No, the Claw from
Inspector Gadget.
Because I don't feel like they ever showed him, but he was like this evil dude.
No, they showed him because he was a Triceratops.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like the way they played him up was like this evil dude, like the Claw. That's
he
what
was.
It reminded me of.
Yeah, because the name of the company was the We Say So Development Corporation.
Okay.
And it was voiced by Sherman Hemsley. So George Jefferson. So he's always that yelling voice. And it had like one of the darkest endings of a show ever, especially a family show, because I guess this is when they started talking about the importance of the environment, culture-wise. We're talking about the importance of the environment and knocking down trees. And so all the actions of the We Say So Development Corporation led to global cooling and the Ice Age. So the very last episode, the family's all huddled in their house, and it's the start of the Ice Age, and everybody dies.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't see it. It fades to black.
Wow.
And they had like a Walter Cronkite-esque broadcaster on the news that they watch, and he gets like the last line, and they just go to black, and that's it.
See, I don't remember how that show ended. I just remember watching on the show, but I'm gonna have to go back and find that to just watch how it ended.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's really dark.
Because I remember as a kid going, how are they going to get out of this? What are they going to do? And they didn't.
There was no show coming back.
No,
that's how they wrote it off.
Yeah, and rounding out the lineup that year was a show called Going Places about 4 young writers who they were the writing staff on like a candid camera type of program called Here's Looking at You. Didn't last very long. The main significance about it is you had Heather Locklear was one of the lead actors. You had the guy that played Styles from the Teen Wolf movie, and then you had the guy that played Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I don't remember that show at all.
Yeah,
but I also feel like I said, I was younger when these shows were going on, so I feel like I watched from 7 to 8:30, and then or 7 to 8, and always missed those last 2 shows because, of course, had school the next day.
Yeah, and that's where they would put the more adult-focused shows at the end of the night. So 91 and 92 is the next season of TGIF. You still had Family Matters. You still had Baby Talk. You still had Perfect Strangers. You still had dinosaurs. Full House moved to Tuesday night this season, which is what we talked about earlier. But you had a couple of new shows. The first was a Head of the Class spinoff called Billy, and it starred Billy Connolly as Billy McGregor. I don't know, you probably were too young to watch Head of the Class, but it was a show about what's the term? It was I guess in my day it was called the Accelerated Class. It was all the smart kids.
GT type class?
Who knows? I think
gifted
now
and talented.
Gifted and
class?
talented.
Yeah.
Well, but it wasn't like they pulled you out of your main class to do special projects. This was the actual class. Was all the smart kids in the.
Yeah, I think it's like GT classes or whatever.
Or
they call
at one
it,
time
maybe.
it was pre-AP.
Okay, that was like when I was in high school.
Yeah. It was that kind of a class. And I forget the guy's name. He was in WKRP in Cincinnati. He was like the main DJ. He was their original teacher, and then he left towards the end of the show, and Billy came in and took over. So this spinoff, he leaves the school and he moves like to California, and ends up with this woman that he meets who has kids, and he needs her to marry him to get his green card and be able to stay in the States. It didn't last very long, like half a season. It might have been 8 episodes. I don't even really remember it, just from like the pilot where all that happens.
I don't. That name, I was reading it, didn't even ring a bell to me at all.
Well, you might remember Billy Connolly played the father of Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery in Producer James. You know that movie? Boondock Saints.
Okay.
Yeah, Boondock Saints.
Yeah. I know the guy, but I just don't remember him being in any sitcom show.
Yeah. So the next debut, the first season, my all-time favorite TGIF show, Step by Step.
Okay. Why is it your favorite? I have to know why it's your favorite.